Welcome to FCPS All-Stars. We have with us today Scott Strait, social studies teacher from Brunswick Middle School. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Tiana.
Welcome, and I'm glad to have you today.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are you a native Marylander?
No, admittedly, I'm not.
What?
As much as I like living in Maryland, I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Oh, where'd you go to college?
I went to college at Pitt, and I did most of my coursework at Pitt Johnstown, a place that I was very fond of, and I enjoyed my time there.
So when you started college, did you always know you wanted to be a teacher, or did you have other plans?
Well, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking that I would teach one day, but when I went to college, I was looking to be a writer.
You were looking to be a writer and you
That's
became a social studies teacher.
I did, exactly.
So you have to share what happened to make you change your mind.
Well, there were a few things that happened. The first thing that happened is I was in class with some other writer-student candidates, and they kept saying, you know, it's not a good idea to be a writer at such a young age. And I said, why? They said, because you don't have anything to tell. They said, you need to write later in life when you have more stories. And it made sense to me. And then I took some history classes with some amazing professors who really sparked my interest in history, which really was an interest that I've always had.
Okay.
And they inspired me to pick up social studies teaching, and I stuck with it ever since.
What kind of things did they do that were outside of the ordinary to really spark your interest?
What I loved about those professors is that they did a lot of work to teach me that history is not just about dates or timelines or memorization, that it's about people. And that when you think about historical events, you have to think about the people who lived there. And so between that and a lot of the work that they did to make us really think about what happened in the past, that really piqued my interest and made me decide that this is what I wanted to do.
It sounds like they made history come alive for you.
Yes, they absolutely did. I have vivid memories of trips we would take with some of the professors, and there was one day early on in my college career where we went to an old farm site near campus, and instead of the professor teaching us about what happened there, we had to piece it together with the artifacts and the different building shapes in the ground and what was left from the buildings, and that was part of our assignment for today, was not listening to him, but to tell him what we thought happened. And we had our discussion and debate, and that was really fascinating.
Oh, okay. Now, did you meet your wife in college?
I did not. No, I didn't.
Where'd you all meet? We
met at Brunswick Middle, at the school I work with now.
Really?
We did, absolutely. We started teaching there at the same year. It was my first year teaching, and she had transferred from another school. And we met that first year, and then a year after that, then we started dating, and the rest is history.
Wow, it seems like a lot of people meet their spouses at FCPS. I wonder if I should contact HR and ask them to put something on our benefits page that says something like, FCPS, a great place to work where you'll meet people you want to know for a lifetime.
Absolutely, I would support that.
What's your wife's name?
Christina.
Christina, and do you have any children?
Yes, we do. We have two daughters, Ivy, who is 7, and Scarlett, who is 6.
Okay. Now, with all of your historic background and your interest in history, do you all take any fun trips related to that?
We have, although I have to do my part in not overloading them with history. And I've been really good at that so far, but some recent trips that we've taken that they've really enjoyed going to Williamsburg.
Of course.
We've done that. They've really enjoyed that. And this past December, we went to the White House, and we took them there on a tour, and they really enjoyed that as well.
Wow.
And so that was good. And then this summer, we're hoping to take them to some more historic places in Europe. We're going to take them to Venice, and we're going to take them to different places in Greece, including Athens, and then Ephesus and Turkey, and then we're going to end our trip in Paris. So we're hoping that we can make some memories and have them learn just a little bit of history at the same time.
And you'll be making your own family history with that too, to share forever and ever.
Absolutely.
Do you and your family have any hobbies?
Our biggest hobby right now really is doing things together. It's so interesting how things change once you have kids. With my wife and I think our biggest hobby together before we had kids was traveling, and now, except for this trip that I just told you about, most of our traveling has been on a much smaller scale. But hobbies tend to be just spending time as a family and finding experiences for our kids and just making that happen for them.
Okay. Now I understand there's a special event that you and your family got involved in. Tell me about that.
Well, just a few weeks ago, we were involved with the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure, and it's something that we've been involved in as a family for 2 years now, with our kids participating in the kids race. And my wife has been involved for 4 years, and she's been doing it. And I've been involved for 3 years, and that's a family tradition that we'd like to uphold and keep doing.
Why do you think it's so important for students to have a really thorough knowledge of their history and American history?
So in 2006, a coworker, Bill Groff, and I, we went to this World War II event in Reading, where they had these old World War II planes, and they had a lot of reenactors there, and they had several World War II veterans, including those who were involved with the Band of Brothers series, the story that many people are familiar with.
Yeah.
A lot of the real veterans who were involved in that story were there, and we were able to meet them. And they were talking about how we were losing so many World War II veterans a day. I think the official number is something like, for this year, 555 World War II veterans we're losing every day.
Really?
Yes, we are.
Every day?
Every day, just because of age and infirmity and different things. And so we decided that maybe it was time that we brought some history to Brunswick Middle, and to make history more alive for our students, and to make it so that they understood that history is about people, and that it's not necessarily about the words on the page, it's about the people who lived through it and experienced it. And people that have the same emotional structure that they do, that they have fears and that they have goals and that they have dreams and disappointments and all of those things that make up humanity. And it's really important that they know that history is really more about the people who lived through events in the past, and not so much the words on the page or the dates that sometimes kids feel like they have to remember.
Right. And I think sometimes there's a disconnect between kids of today, because, you know, when I watch movies, I would say, oh, if I lived back then, I would have done so on and so on. And it's not necessarily like that. They're real people experiencing real things. And just like we're creating history every minute today, it's the way it was for people back then.
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, it sounds like we need to find a way to make history come alive for our students.
Yes.
So what did you and Bill decide to do?
Well, we started thinking there in 2006 that we really wanted to put on a school-wide event where we could expose our students to these veterans and people who are interested in talking to our students about their stories. One of the things we noticed at the Reading event is that the people who lived through the war really wanted to tell people about their stories, and we were really impressed by that. So it took us a while to plan this. So in 2008, we put on our first school-wide transdisciplinary history event, and at that time we called it World War II and Veterans Appreciation Day. And we had World War II reenactors and living historians, and we had World War II veterans, several of those, that would come. They came to our school and they talked to our students, and it was great. And then that, for us, was a great success, and it worked out so much better than we ever could have imagined. So then we thought, we need to do this again. Although it was so much work, we said, okay, we're going to do this again, but 2 years from now.
Okay.
So in 2010, we had our second event, and that's when we came up with the idea of Spirit of America Day, because then we incorporated all time periods in American history, not just World War II. So then we were able to bring in living historians and experts who specialized in colonial history and then American Revolution history, and then it worked all the way up through the Civil War, World War II, in Vietnam, and it really has been a great thing for us. In terms of making history alive for students. We have benefited from having local experts, people who worked at Monocacy Battlefield. They come and they help us out a lot. And people who work at Rose Hill Manor, they come and help us out. There are so many living historians and so many reenactors just in our area that are willing to come and share their expertise with our students. And the great thing for us is as great as it is to have these outside people come in, it's so wonderful to have the staff at our building rise up and help us in any way that we can. It is just so amazing, because there is no Spirit of America Day event without the staff and administration at Brunswick Middle.
That sounds really interesting. How do the students react to this event?
Oh, they've been wonderful. One reaction we get really often is from 7th graders. Because we do this event every 2 years, a common 7th grade complaint is, hey, this isn't fair because we only get this event once. And I never expected that. They are engaged, and they're so polite to our presenters, and they're inquisitive, and it's just everything that you would want to ask for a school-wide event. And then just to give you some quick background on something that happened during our first event, we had a World War II veteran come in, and he presented, and he had a very interesting story to tell. He had a rough time in the war, and I don't think he spoke about the war much. And he spent the day presenting to our students, and when it was over, he said to us, he said, this day really completely is causing me to rethink my perception of young people. He said, these kids are so great.
Wow.
And I now have a renewed, respect for the young people of today. And he thanked us, which really the whole point of the day was for us to thank him and for his service. And then he thanked us and our students. And I think I'll carry that with me forever.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, what would you say to students to really kind of spark them to start studying history?
Well, one thing I would say to students is that history is about people, and that you really need to make sure that you understand that history is always going to be about people, and that the most interesting history really comes from the most interesting stories about people. And I would encourage them to read. One of my favorite history authors is David McCullough, as you can see, with the John Adams book.
Yes.
And I also am a very big fan of historical fiction. And I think that historical fiction is a great entryway for people, especially young people, to get involved in history.
You know, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like history has just come alive for me today. So I want to thank you so much, Scott, for coming in and sharing your story and sharing your history with us as well. And thank you for joining us. Hope to see you next week, and don't forget to shine on.